How's it going? Just waiting for my friends to show up. Kyle the Pro, you know? Yeah. Figured he'd be going live today. Must be hungover. Let's see if we can, at least one minute of content needed to create a short. Oh, you can cut a short like that. What's up? How you doing? Waiting for my buddy Kyle to get on. Kind of bored. Just kidding. Alright, well, anyways, I'm actually, sitting at the computer, if you can see. You can see it right in my glasses. We'll try out this green screen stuff also, so then it looks cooler, right? Living in America. I mean, that is better background than just like my barren wall, right? Waiting for subs, you know, like the people that donate and stuff. That's what y'all do, right? On this live. If you're gonna be live, you gotta like donate and crap. Right. Alright, what do we got here? Ubuntu 25.04 is installed and ready to use. Well, let's restart it then. So I got Ubuntu installing here. And I'm gonna die on power, so I'll go charge out. I'm gonna set y'all right over here. And we'll wait for some subs to come in. We'll watch some of them too, maybe. Yeah, so we go out of the green screen. Yeah, like that. Yeah. Yeah, I can see it. That's more like how Scarelli does it. Funny. Alright. This update software thing is sure to please not to install it now. What was I doing on this, man? Oh man, this thing is screwed up. What up, yo? What up, yo? It's Kyle Pro.
Listening together.
Pretty
All
soon.
man needs is a sign to get behind the sun and cast his way. All I need's a place to find, and there I'll celebrate.
This conversation explores historical records, research, and personal perspectives on UFO disclosure, theology, and government secrecy. It's presented for educational and investigative discussions. Viewers are encouraged to examine the evidence and draw their own conclusions.
But when you get up into these upper echelons of the conversation, the questions aren't, are they real? Are UFOs real? Those questions are already answered at that level. It appears that the famous Eisenhower Treaty, which is sometimes called the Greada Treaty, is real, that it did happen, and that we've struck a Faustian bargain behind the scene, specifically with the gray alien faction, that is criminal because we have allowed citizens of our nation to be abducted against their will.
What?
Hello, amazing people. Welcome to the Ryan Files. This is the first episode of year 3, and we're not easing into it. We're going straight to the heart of the mystery. My guest tonight is Timothy Alberino, explorer, researcher, and author who exposes the connection between ancient history, biblical prophecy, and the modern UFO and alien disclosure movement. What
What's up, y'all? Go ahead and hit me up in the chat.
It's a story that's been unfolding in the shadows for decades because the truth hasn't been lost. It's been hidden. And as the walls of secrecy begin to crack, one reality becomes undeniable. We are not alone.
We're not alone, y'all.
This is Disclosure. Let's dive in.
Yeah, Atlas. Aliens among us.
Hello, amazing people. Thank you for joining me this week on the Ryan Files with special guest Timothy Alberino. He's a researcher, explorer, and author who unites ancient history, biblical prophecy, and modern technology in one powerful narrative. His book, Birthright, The Coming Post-Human Apocalypse, reveals how humanity's divine inheritance is being challenged by transhumanism, alien deception, and artificial intelligence. Through the Alberino analysis, Tim's the mysteries of lost civilizations, the Watchers of Genesis 6, and the rising post-human world. For me personally, Tim was instrumental in the genesis of the Rhinos. His work pushed me to go deeper, and that's when the world started to finally make a little bit more sense. Timothy Alberino, thank you so much for joining me this week on the Ryan Files. I really appreciate you coming on, Tim. We met years ago in Peru.
Cusco.
Yeah, with a trip with Blurry Creatures. Kind of a crazy time in my life, how that all came about and the reasonings behind it. But what an amazing trip and an honor just to spend some time with you and whatnot down there. But I follow you. You're a busy man. And I know you've got a lot going on, which has brought you on this week to just it doesn't really matter what you talk about. It's always interesting. So I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we met in Cusco. You joined my public expedition I did to Cusco a few years ago, and I remember the first time I met you. You walked in, and I thought, my God, I didn't realize that Elvis was on this trip. So it was, and I didn't know you were an Elvis impersonator. I had no idea. So that was really cool, and that was a great trip. We had a lot of fun. But thanks for having me on. Yeah, well, I'm game to talk about whatever you want.
Well, I appreciate it, man. I'll tell you, one of the things that I've really been getting into on this side of things, and then just following what you're into, always interested in this alien deception, whatever you want to call it, whatever the correct terminology is. We live in this world where I think more and more there's this soft disclosure going on, where it just feels imminent. It's around the corner in some way, shape, or form. But my interest in it goes deeper because it seems like there's just so many, when you get into the new age side of it and whatnot, man, it's like the pump is prime for something to happen. And there's already a devout following of this stuff.
How's it going?
Treating it like gods, so to speak. So always interested in finding out what's the latest and greatest when it comes to disclosure, aliens, craft, are they real, all kinds of stuff. So anything you got on that topic?
Well, I'll start with the last question. Are they real? The answer is yes, they are, 100%. So I interface with obviously with the general public in regard to this topic, but also with people who are members of clandestine UFO research groups, members of Congress, and whistleblowers. And I can tell you that, you have the lower level conversation that's happening in the public space. And there's a lot of chatter on X, on social media about UFOs and the nature of UFOs and are they real and crash retrievals and so forth. But when you get up into these upper echelons of the conversation, the questions aren't, are they real? Are UFOs real? Those questions are already answered at that level. I mean, the crash retrieval program, nobody doubts the existence of the crash retrieval program. Those aren't the questions that are being asked. The questions that are being asked at those levels are, how do we get access to these, to the special access programs, the facilities where the SAPs and the USAPs are being conducted? How do we get hands on the technology? And what races are we interacting with? What is the agenda of these races? How long has the United States government, not has the United States government been interacting with these things, but how long have we been interacting with these entities? And what has been the nature of that interaction? What kind of bargains have been struck? These are the questions that are taking place at the higher level. So you have the internet chatter, you have the interest of the general public who are still stuck in this cycle of debate, especially among Christians, in regard to the existence or non-existence of these entities. But at the higher levels, it's way beyond that. So yes, the aliens are real, and whatever that means to you, aliens simply, and when I use the term alien, I'm talking about a sentient species that is non-human, okay? And there's a lot of debate as to whether or not that species is indigenous to the Earth, or does it come from somewhere other than planet Earth? And I think the answer is are valid, and the answer is yes to both of the questions. Yes, they have been on the Earth for a long time. And when I say they, there's not one thing involved here. There's various things involved. Yes, they have been on the Earth for a very long time. In probably some of them, at least one particular race, longer than the human species, but they also don't come from the Earth. At least some of them. And I can say that with a great deal of confidence because I approach it both from a data-based orientation, but also a biblical orientation. So I have a paradigm that is, as you know, and as my audience knows, a paradigm that is founded on the biblical narrative, but also I'm always familiarizing myself with the data set and with the facts that have been presented to me behind the scenes. So the debate really gets hot around the question of A, the nature of these beings, and B, the provenance of these beings. And there's two things that I can say at this point unequivocally. The nature of the beings is biological, okay? The
nature of the beast is biological. Did you hear that? Do you hear that? Sosa? The nature of the beast is biological.
What's up? Anybody watching? No? No comments? Damn. Huh? Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't work. What's that? What's that? Oh, hey. Yo, man. No way, bro. No way, bro. I got it, bro. I got it, bro. Lost me. Nobody commenting yet?
Nature of the beings that we have evidence of. And when I say evidence, I'm talking crash retrievals. I'm talking bodies. It's biological. That's the nature. It's not our biology, but it's biological. And the provenance of these beings is very, very likely not planet Earth. Although they have bases here, although they've established a presence here and have been here in some cases for a very long time, some of them, I don't think the Greys, by the way, I think the Greys have been here probably since maybe the mid-1800s. But that doesn't mean that there haven't been forward operations, surveillance operations, or forward teams, so to speak, that have come here in preparation for the establishment of bases, right? So if we were going to invade a foreign country, the first thing that we do is we send the CIA, and we send the elements of the intelligence community to embed, and then we send the SF guys, the Special Forces teams, to embed and to prepare in a forward operation to prepare the invasion, to prepare for the invasion force or the combat force that would be coming behind it, and to establish bases, to integrate into the culture, and so forth. This is the way that we do it, and every modern nation does it. So in the same way, you could have had, let's be specific to gray aliens, you could have had gray aliens coming to the Earth, surveilling, establishing bases before they arrived in mass, let's say, right? And that could have gone back hundreds, perhaps thousands of years, that activity, slowly integrating, slowly building the bases under the sea, under the ground. But certainly the abduction phenomenon does not go further than the late 1800s. So if the primary agenda, the prime objective of gray aliens is the abduction phenomenon and the breeding program, then they likely were not here, or at least not very active on Earth until the mid to late 1800s. I'm probably giving you more information than you were looking for here, but
That's fascinating.
But this is, my assessment my assessment hasn't changed over the last 5 years, let's say. The things that I suspected before have been concretized, have been affirmed through my interaction with various elements in this world. And I'm going to go back to this point I was making earlier. I'm seeing there's an interesting rift that's formed between the public conversation and the conversation that's happening at the higher levels. The special access programs absolutely exist, and these are where this is where the legacy program is housed, within these compartmentalized special access programs. And those programs, because of the Freedom of Information Act, were once housed under the government, the DOD, let's say, generally speaking, the Department of Defense, but because of the Freedom of Information Act, that citizens can now make inquiries into programs to find out what the government is doing, they decoupled the legacy program from the DOD, from the Department of Defense, from the Pentagon apparatus, and compartmentalized it within various programs under the auspices of the aerospace contractors.
Yeah.
And maybe about 6, 7, 8, maybe even up to 10 of them. And so what this has done is it's made it almost impossible. It's like the proverbial shell game, right? Where you're constantly shuffling the cups and hiding the marble, and you can shuffle it around. And the American public, there's no oversight. The American public, and when you talk about Congress, you're talking about the American public. These are the representatives of the American people. There's no oversight. There's no constitutional oversight. There's no congressional oversight anymore. So now you have what are essentially rogue elements.
Right.
who are in possession of extremely important information and exceedingly advanced technology, and they don't interface with each other. There's no conference of aerospace contracting companies. It's all compartmentalized. And then even within the aerospace apparatus, within each company, the information is further compartmentalized, and the activities are subcontracted. So the aerospace company, let's say Lockheed Martin, they can have a program that's attempting to reverse engineer this particular aspect of a crash retrieval asset, right? Propulsion system or something, and they may not have the whole thing. Another contractor may have the other piece of this puzzle, right? But over here at Lockheed Martin, they have, this is sequestered within one of their special access programs. You need the right clearances, and the individuals working on this do not really interface with each other. So it's compartmentalized to such an extent to where there's almost no sharing of knowledge, and then certain aspects of this are subbed out, right? So you may have a an aerospace contractor who owns the facility and is housing some kind of exotic craft or material, non-human, but they have a recovery program of their own that's being operated by a subcontractor. You see what I mean? So I'm just trying to express how complex this web is, how complex this network has become, and to some extent, the government has lost control of it. Okay, so imagine you as if you happen to be a congressman and you are making inquiries into the legacy program, you are immediately faced with this impenetrable web. Because even if you encounter somebody that knows something, they only know one aspect. They can only pull on one thread of this network, of this web. And so it's so highly compartmentalized that it's difficult to imagine that there's any one person who has a handle on the whole thing.
Yeah, wow.
And so when that happens, you get rogue institutions, you get rogue organizations. The technology falls into the hands of nefarious people in some cases, because it's outside of, basically it's outside of constitutional oversight at this point. And this is, one of the primary concerns at the congressional level is this needs to come back under constitutional oversight.
Right.
This needs to come back under the oversight, not just of the Pentagon, but of Congress. And so there are efforts being made behind the scenes, very noble efforts, very strategic efforts, to try and rein in this mess.
Yeah.
In the effort to hide this stuff from the American people, and because of the FOIA Act, they've created a web, they've created an absolute chaotic mess that is out of control. And in one aspect of this is understandable, because we want to hide our secrets from our adversaries. So if citizens can make FOIA requests, you can start to expose programs, legitimate national security interests that can be damaging to the United States, to the security apparatus. That's understandable. But that wasn't the full motivation. I don't even think it was a primary motivation. The primary motivation has been to hide this reality from the American populace and then from citizens of the world. There's financial interests involved, and then there's a power struggle involved behind the scenes. And then I think above and beyond all of these motivations is that there have been serious crimes committed, crimes against humanity. And I would go further. I would frame this in a theological context. And I would say severe transgressions against the God of heaven, against the Maker himself. So you're dealing with sinister activities that are criminal, and that if the truth of what's been going on for the last 5 decades or so comes to light,
comes to
then
light.
there's going to be a lot of criminality. There's going to be a lot of people implicated. It's going to implicate elements of the United States government. There's certainly the military-industrial complex, and it's going to be some of the most sinister things anybody has ever imagined that have been taking place. And to some extent, to some level, we have been complicit in anti-human activity. And what I mean by that is the potential creation of hybrids, human-alien hybrids, both on our side of the equation, on the human side, and on the alien side, because we've been covering up the, and implicit in the, rather, in the alien abduction phenomenon. And what I mean by complicit in it is that I do believe, and I think the more I press, the more I interact with people behind the scenes, it appears that the famous Eisenhower Treaty, which is sometimes called the Greada Treaty, is real, that it did happen, and that we've struck a Faustian bargain behind the scene, specifically with the gray alien faction, that is really, I guess the simplest term would be criminal, because we have allowed citizens of our nation to be abducted against their will, and subjected to a breeding program, and because that's what it amounts to. And in exchange, we received technological insight from that faction, from the Greys. So, that's one of the more, I would say that's one of the more controversial and explosive revelations that's come out in the Greada contract, Eisenhower, that's come out in ufology over the decades. And as I said, it's shockingly, from my point of view, again, understanding the lore, but then communicating with people at the higher levels, it looks like it's true. Looks like it happened.
Well, you just unpacked a bunch there, Tim. I wouldn't expect less. So I oftentimes think about this in the same way as AI. We talk about AI all the time, and Elon Musk a few years back was like, hey, let's just slow down for a second. Well, nobody's going to slow down, because the moment this company slows down, this company gets ahead, or this government gets ahead. Nobody's going to slow down, and the guardrails are going to be taken off. And it's kind of scary. This is a snowball effect, avalanche effect going down the hill.
That's right.
It's very similar in that these companies, or these special access programs, they have a lot of power. Knowledge is power. Therefore, they have a lot of knowledge, and they have a lot of power. And the fact that they want to keep it that way, that's human nature. But do you believe that we live in a world today, and this is kind of the thing, like, do we live in a world today where we can trust every person in Congress? And I'm not downplaying.
Well, the answer is no. We've never lived in that world.
Right. So, because you can just, I'm not going to name names, but there's a couple of people I can imagine getting this information. You know about leaks happening all the time. That comes into probably play as part of the problem. It's not an excuse, but it's just, is it possible for it to change, I guess is what I'm asking.
Well, there is a very valiant effort, a valiant war being waged behind the scenes to bring these what amount to illegal activities right now under the oversight of Congress. And let me rephrase that, to rectify, to expose to some extent, and to rectify the illicit activities that have been happening behind the scenes, and to bring the legacy program under back under the control of the governmental apparatus, Congress and the Pentagon, basically, the Congress and the Department of Defense. So, and that effort is real. It's not feigned. And there are individuals in Congress and in government in general and some of the agencies who are determined and who are running ops to try and get this done. And they're met with a lot of resistance. You know, at the congressional level, it's not necessarily like some of these guys are threatened. Some of the congressmen have been threatened directly. And I know that, but it's more like, rather than a direct confrontation, so what the government does in response, as soon as the narrative starts getting out of control, and you know everybody has a cell phone with relatively good camera on it, you can't hide the phenomenon anymore. You can't tell people that the phenomenon isn't real, which is what they used to do. So the response is, and now Congress begins to take an interest in the phenomenon, and you know, let's go back to the publication of the New York Times piece back in 2017, the Nimitz incident, and so forth. So what does the government do in response? When I say the government, I'm referring to the disclosure fact. I mean the non-disclosure faction. What my friend Richard Dolan describes as the secrecy group. The group that wants to keep the lid on all of this and wants the status quo to continue in regard to the cover-up. What do? Their response isn't to try and shut it down and come out and reject the claims that are put forward in the New York Times. Rather, what they do is they created an investigative office at the Pentagon, AARO. And it's like, oh, hey, we're interested in this phenomenon also. And you know what? We're going to investigate it. So we're going to create AARO, the All-Domain Anomaly Research Office. And we're going to lead the charge in investigating this. And then we're going to brief Congress on what we find. And so that was created to satisfy the public interest, curiosity, and to give the illusion that the government's also interested in this topic, and we're going to get to the bottom of this, but also AARO was created to diffuse the growing interest at the congressional level, in the Senate and House, and to dissuade further investigative efforts. Right? And so how do they do that? Well, what AARO does is it'll take, for example, I know this for sure, okay? I know that this is what they do. They'll take, 10, let's just put a number out there, 10 incidents, UFO incidents, and they'll do this in a briefing with the Congressional UAP Caucus, for example. And they'll have the congressman there, and then they'll go through 10 incidents, and they'll take layups, right? Incidents that are easy to debunk, and they'll debunk 9 of them conclusively. This is a Mylar balloon, this is a flock of seagulls, whatever. Conclusively debunked. And then they'll have this 10th one where they go, this one we don't know about yet. We're still looking into this one. Right. And so what this does is it gives the illusion that this official Pentagon office is interested in getting to the truth, but at the same time is deflating the expectations of the congressional members, especially in the UAP caucus, and dissuading further inquiry into the topic. Right. And it's a very, very high-level psychological operation. And it also gives fodder to skeptics, because they're just going to parrot what AARO, the AARO, and it is a very efficient way to control the narrative, both, again, at the congressional level and in regard to the public conversation that's revolving around this topic. And it's been very effective. And then what happens is you get, and this isn't necessarily a psychological operation, this is just a product of the UFO community, right? The UFO research community, is then you get hearings. And we've had 3 so far. And these hearings are conducted in the beginning they're all conducted in good faith. But the hearings are conducted at a let's say, they're conducted at a fairly highly professional level in the beginning, because in the very beginning, the situation hasn't yet been compromised by particular certain UFO celebrity figures haven't compromised the scene yet at the congressional level. And so you get whistleblowers, and then you get really inquisitive congressmen. And then they interact, and then you get some explosive revelations, and the congressmen are taken aback because most of them are green in regard to ufology, right?
Right.
And you get the most explosive revelation, which was the original one from David Grush. And Grush reveals, because Grush worked in intelligence, and he reveals that the legacy program is absolutely real, that we have non-human, quote unquote, spaceships or something, like whatever the terminology was, and biologicals. And you get that what people refer to the ontological shock that hits the congressmen making these inquiries, because they're not familiar with ufology, and you get a very visceral and real reaction, and that first hearing was very impactful, powerful. But then what happens is you get and I don't want to say this to denigrate anyone in particular, but then the UFO circus comes to town. And particular personalities begin to attach themselves to congressmen and congresswomen, and then the whole thing begins to degrade in regard to, because you have a power struggle. You always have a power struggle among UFO personalities. Everybody wants to be the guy that's most connected, and that the public goes the go-to UFO guy, right? And so though that is in the mix now, and I'm just sort of, look, I've been in meetings and regarding UFOs and stuff lately, and so this is all sort of what's been percolating in my brain, and I'm just sort of dumping it on you right now.
That's great.
So you have this situation in which these original explosive allegations hit the public, and there's a genuine response. It forces a response. It forces an inquiry at the congressional level, and the Pentagon to create the All-Domain Anomaly Research Office, or ARROW, whatever the acronym stands for. I'm not sure if I got that right. And then you have, in the public, you have a lot of newcomers to the topic who flood social media, who before 2017 were not interested in, I'm not sure if I got that right.
All I need is a sign to get behind the sun and cast his waves. All I need is a place to find, and there I'll celebrate. All in all, there's something to give. There's something to give. All in all, there's something to do. All in all, there's something to do. All in all, there's something to live with you.
important shit is going on here. Like the stream.
giving me the chance to be held and understood. Leave me loving without crying. So no use denying. Many times I've tried. Downtown, way up in the air, heart's pounding, long and on away. You make it easy to watch you alone. You make it easy to let the past go down. You make it easy.
True make it easy.
How'd you do it? How'd you find me? How did I find you? How can this be true? To be held and understood. Keep it coming, no one's running. Lesson I'm learning. Blessings I deserve. When I trust that all is good. Downtown, way up in the air, heart's pounding.